Rick Marlowe crashed shoulder first into a vendor's stall, scattering baskets of fluorescent fruit across the dusty plaza like Technicolor grenades. Alien curses chased him in at least 3 languages, but he didn't stop. Couldn't. Not with half of Argon City's enforcers on his tail and a smoldering plasma scorch carving through the back of his jacket. Left, the voice on his ring crackled, a mixture of gravel and smug aristocracy. Unless you plan to expire like a budget tourist in a fruit stand. Rick veered left, leaping over a pen of squawking 6-legged birds that looked like poultry designed by someone with a nightmare kink. He hit the ground hard, rolling to his feet and cursing under his breath. You said this was a milk run, Spark. A quick lift and go job. Spark, the sentient artifact bonded to his finger, gave a sigh that somehow managed to be condescending. You're the one who slept with the Chancellor's daughter instead of stealing the data cube. Actions have consequences, Richard. A plasma bolt sizzled over Rick's head as he dove under a hovercart. Screams echoed around the bazaar as shoppers scattered. Twin suns bore down like angry gods, and the redstone pavement shimmered with heat. Rick sprinted for the avenue ahead, until he saw it blocked by armored guards. The ring pulsed hot. A warning. He pivoted, crashing into an open square, and froze. Thousands packed the amphitheater-style plaza. They all faced a platform, where a thick metallic post stood under glaring spotlights. Rick's gut clenched at the scent, sweat, adrenaline, and beneath it all, the coppery sting of blood. Then he saw her. She stood chained to the post, regal even in rags. Skin like violet dusk shimmered in the sunlight. Her rose-gold hair hung matted and bloodied, cascading down a back that was ramrod straight despite the restraints. Even 50 yards away, she radiated power. Not the soft kind. The storm kind. The kind that makes tyrants nervous. Purple blood dripped from a slash on her leg. Her clothing, what was left, suggested former nobility. Highborn. Doomed. Ancient blood, Spark whispered reverently. Can you feel it, Richard? The resonance? Rick couldn't feel anything except fury and the irrational need to bulldoze through every armored goon between him and that platform. Above them all hovered a floating dais, where Lord Varric Myros, Argon's gleaming-eyed tyrant, stood wrapped in crystalline robes. His voice boomed across the crowd. Citizens of Argon. Today, we end the final vestige of the old bloodline. Today, we execute the last heir of the House of Elia. The crowd cheered. Someone hurled fruit at the chained woman. She didn't flinch. Eloa of the Fallen, Myros thundered. You are guilty by your very existence. How do you plead? Eloa smiled, and it was all sharp teeth and contempt. I plead that you're a coward wrapped in a costume. The crowd gasped. Myros sneered. Release the Rex. 2 steel gates groaned open. Out stepped the stuff of nightmares, hulking, reptilian beasts bred for bloodsport. Muscle, teeth, and hunger incarnate. Eloa tensed. Even chained, she looked ready to fight. Rick, Spark said sharply. We have to leave. Yeah, Rick muttered. About that. The first Rex lunged. Time slowed. Rick saw Eloa twist, even in her bonds. Saw the beast's path. Saw it about to rip her in half. Saw red. No, silver. The ring exploded with light. Without thinking, Rick shoved into the crowd. Damn it, not again. He hit the platform's edge and jumped. Not a human jump. A ring-assisted, 20-foot launch that cracked the stone underfoot when he landed, right between Eloa and the second advancing Rex. The entire plaza went silent. Rick stood, back to the woman, as the ring morphed over his hand into a gauntlet humming with energy. Hi there, he said to the Rex. Nice day for an execution, huh? Sunshine, screams, sociopaths in the skybox. He looked up at Myros, whose expression had shifted from gloating to gobsmacked. Great speech, by the way, Rick added. Really leaned into that cartoon villain aesthetic. Myros recovered. Who dares interrupt justice? Rick Marlowe. Earthborn. Professional nuisance. And here's the thing about humans, we can't shut up when we see injustice. He pointed around at the crowd, the chained woman, the snarling monsters. This pisses me off. The Rex behind him growled. Rick didn't look back. Touch her again, he said, voice carrying across the plaza, and I'll turn this whole planet into a bonfire. Someone laughed. It died quickly when Rick's gauntlet surged with energy. He's bluffing, someone shouted. Rick turned. Finally saw Eloa up close. Her violet-silver eyes met his. Bleeding, breath ragged, but amused. I didn't ask for your help, Earthling, she said. Good, Rick muttered, because I'm not doing this for you. She doesn't believe you, Spark piped up, now amplified for all to hear. Heart rate suggests significant attraction. Shut up, Rick hissed. The second Rex charged. Rick met it with full ring force, ducking its charge and smashing his gauntlet into its skull. Bone met stone. The creature crumpled. He spun. Plasma fire erupted. Guards on the platform. Rick deflected blasts, returned fire, swept legs, smashed heads. It became a blur, battles fought on instinct and adrenaline. The ring flared with power, forming shields, weapons, armor on the fly. The first Rex still circled. Rick grabbed a fallen guard and threw him to the beast. Wet crunch. Crowd screams. Behind him, Eloa pulsed with light, raw energy bursting from her as she blinded the Rex with a flash that disrupted every weapon on the platform. You have your moments, she gasped. Rick grinned. Spark, crowd control pattern 7. The one where you almost died on Kepler station. The one where I didn't. More guards climbed onto the stage. Rick fought like a man possessed. Gauntlet smashing, spinning, shielding. But they kept coming. He risked a glance back. Eloa sagged in her chains, her light show having drained her. Blood pooled at her feet. Spark, can you break the chains? 30 seconds. Uninterrupted. Rick swore. The Rex recovered. Guards regrouped. You've done enough, Eloa whispered. Go. Rick turned back toward the attackers. I'm not anyone else. A semicircle of weapons pointed at him. The Rex stalked closer. Then, Myros descended, robes flaring. You've invoked an ancient law, the dictator said. By defending her in the arena of judgment, you have claimed her. Rick blinked. Claimed? As your bride, Myros said with glee. And with her, her sisters. You now bear responsibility for all of them. The crowd murmured. Rick looked back at Eloa, bloodied but defiant. He turned back to Myros. Always wanted a big family. The plaza exploded with noise. The chains dissolved with a flicker of blue energy. Eloa crumpled forward and Rick caught her before she hit the platform. Spark, how bad is it? Femoral artery compromised. She needs immediate treatment. Estimated time before unconsciousness becomes fatal, 6 minutes. Then we're leaving. Rick swept her into his arms. She weighed less than expected, or maybe adrenaline and ring-enhanced strength made her feel that way. You absolute idiot, she muttered, voice thin but defiant. You have no idea what you've just done. Thursday for me, princess. He didn't stop to explain. The guards held back, uncertain whether to attack a newly bound royal couple. That hesitation was all he needed. He ran. The crowd parted reluctantly. Some shouted. Some tried to grab him. Most stared in shock. A few even cheered. Spark, route me to the nearest med facility. 3 blocks north. Hostile zone. Probability of clean escape, 12%. Then give me options. Real ones. Safe house. Underground. 4 blocks. Owned by House Elia. It's functional. That'll do. The journey blurred. Twin suns scorched the streets, and Aloa's blood soaked through Rick's shirt. She blinked in and out of consciousness, murmuring things he couldn't catch. He reached a rusted metal door in an alley that smelled like burned oil and worse. A hidden scanner clicked. Then the door creaked open. A woman with violet skin and knife-sharp features appeared. Her eyes scanned Aloa, then Rick. She said nothing, just stepped aside. Put her here, she ordered, gesturing to a medical table that had definitely seen better centuries. Rick laid Aloa down gently. You must be one of the sisters, he said. I'm Lyanna, the woman replied. The smart one. And you must be the idiot who just married us all. Charmed. She was already cutting away Aloa's bloodied garments with precise, practiced hands. Vera. Get the cauterizer. And tell Kayla to stop sharpening knives, we're not killing him. Yet. 2 more women appeared. One was young, barely out of her teens, glowing faintly under her skin. She fumbled with a medical device like it was the only thing holding her together. The other moved like a predator, muscle, motion, menace. Her scarred arms rippled as she crossed the room, blade twirling in her fingers. Kayla. She circled Rick like he was prey. You're the Earth man who thinks he can save us. No thinking involved, Rick said evenly. Already did. The blade flashed. Rick raised his gauntlet hand in time, catching the strike with a clang that echoed in the chamber. She was strong. So was he. My reflexes are spectacular, he said, using her momentum to spin her into the wall. She twisted, bringing the blade around again. He ducked, grabbed her wrist, forced the knife from her hand. Enough, Lyanna snapped. Kayla, if you kill him, we all die. That's how the binding works. Rick, is it? Please don't break my sister's wrist. I'm trying to save the other one. Rick let go. Kayla stepped back, murder still simmering behind her eyes. Or maybe curiosity. How is she? He asked, moving back to the table. Alive. Barely. Lyanna didn't stop moving. The arteries sealed, but she's lost too much blood. Vera, accelerator. The youngest sister stumbled forward, hands trembling. First time seeing this kind of wound? Rick asked softly. She nodded. Don't worry. Your sister knows what she's doing. She trained us all, Vera whispered. Mother said a princess who can't stitch wounds won't survive to rule. Mother was half right, Lyanna said, pain under her crisp tone. Touching, Spark muttered. Then it added, we've got 17 hostiles inbound. Rick's blood ran cold. Time. 3 minutes. They're using trackers. Of course they are, Lyanna said, not looking up. They always do after a public claim. Kayla grabbed her blade and turned to Rick. You coming? Or are Earthmen only good for dramatic entrances? Lead the way. They ran up narrow stairs to the surface level. The safe house was old, cracked stone and rotting beams. Rick scanned the exits. 3 ways in. Minimal cover. Great defensive choice. It's kept us alive for 3 months, Kayla growled, barricading the door. Longer than the last 4. You've been running that long? We've been running for 3 years. She hefted a shelf into place like it weighed nothing. Since Myros decided our bloodline was too dangerous to live. The first explosion shook the building. Breaching charge, Rick said, turning to the north door. No subtlety. Why bother when you have numbers? Kayla spun her blade in a spiral of deadly grace. How many can you handle? Rick cracked his neck. All of them. The door blew inward. The first enforcer threw barely registered the world before Rick's gauntlet fist folded his helmet. The second got his weapon raised, but Rick crushed the barrel and clotheslined him with it. The third tried to retreat. Rick's thrown knife caught him just behind the knee. Efficient, Spark noted. Form could use improvement. Everyone's a critic. Plasma fire filled the room. Rick ducked, deflected, fired back. He called over his shoulder, Kayla, company coming your way. No response. He risked a glance back. She was already in combat with 5 enforcers at the rear. Her blade danced like liquid fire. One fell, hamstrings shredded. Another staggered back, face a ruin of bone and blood. Still they came. This is unsustainable, Spark muttered. You think? Rick grabbed a plasma rifle, laid down covering fire, and then the world exploded in light. At first, he thought it was a bomb. But it came from below. From the medical room. The light was raw. Pure. Not just electromagnetic. Something older. Stronger. Every weapon died. Even Spark flickered. The enforcers stumbled in the dark, helpless. But Kayla didn't need light. She tore through them. Rick adapted. Years of brawling across 50 systems took over. He broke jaws, used his rifle like a club, turned the dark into a weapon. When the light faded, the emergency lighting revealed a room full of unconscious enemies. Everyone alive? Rick called out. Disappointed, but yes, Kayla replied, wiping her blade. You fight like an Earthman. Thanks. Not a compliment. Too much power, not enough finesse. She disappeared back down the stairs. Rick followed. The med room was chaos. Vera sat in a corner, glowing faintly, crying silently. Liana worked frantically over a burned-out medical unit. She fried everything, Liana muttered. The regenerator, the monitors. Gone. I didn't mean to, Vera whispered. I was just scared and then. You saved us, Rick said gently, kneeling beside her. That pulse gave us the edge we needed. That wasn't electromagnetic, Liana said, eyes wide. That was stellar energy. She channels starlight. When she's frightened. Rick looked at Aloha, still breathing, still unconscious, but alive. Then we need to move. Another safe house, Liana said. Factory district. We'll be less exposed. Wait, Rick raised a hand. Something felt wrong. Spark was still quiet. Spark. Nothing. Your artifact, Vera's voice was small. Did I break it? Just knocked him out. He'll complain when he wakes up. He'd better, Liana said. We need him. Rick turned to Kayla. Can she move? Not yet. Then we hold here. No, Kayla's tone was sharp. The binding makes her a target, but also valuable. Myros won't kill her. He'll study her. She injected something into Aloha's neck. Her eyes fluttered open. Did we win? She rasped. Rick smiled. We survived. That's how Earth defines winning. Low standards, she murmured. But when he helped her sit up, she didn't fight him. Where? Factory district, Liana said. Can you walk? No. Rick moved to lift her again. But I can lean, Aloha said stubbornly, taking his arm. Together, they vanished into the city's underbelly. They moved through the city like ghosts. Kayla led the way, her blade drawn and her eyes scanning every shadow. Liana carried gear and supplies, guiding them through maintenance tunnels and forgotten back alleys. Vera hovered close to Rick and Eloa, her glow dimmer now, like a fading ember trying not to reignite. Eloa leaned heavily on Rick, each step taking effort, but she never complained. "Careful," she muttered, her breath warm against his neck. "Your whole body tenses every time I touch you." Rick didn't answer at first. "Wasn't thinking anything," he lied. "Liar," she whispered, half laughing despite herself. "More afraid you'll bleed on my last clean shirt." "This is your clean shirt." Vera giggled behind them, an oddly normal sound in the chaos of their lives. "Focus," Lyanna hissed from up ahead. "Guards." They pressed into shadows as an enforcement patrol passed. 6 guards, heavily armed. One carried a biocanner. Rick recognized it immediately. If that scanner passed their position, they were screwed. "I can," Vera started, her voice a whisper. "No," Lyanna's hand shot out, gripping her sister's wrist. "Not unless we have no choice. You're not trained." "But if it pings us?" The scanner beeped. The lead guard turned toward their hiding spot. Kayla moved like lightning. Her blade severed the scanner in a single motion, then buried itself in the man's throat. Blood sprayed. Chaos erupted. Guards shouted, fired blindly. "Go!" Kayla barked. Lyanna grabbed Vera and sprinted. Rick didn't argue. He scooped up Eloa again, ignoring her protest. "We can't leave her," she hissed. "She's buying us time," Rick growled. "We waste it, we insult her. It's not a sacrifice." Eloa's hand pounded his chest. "She always does this. Always the hero." "Sounds familiar," Rick muttered. They reached the factory district just as the sky began to tint purple with dawn. The safe house was an old treaty site, a crumbling structure surrounded by forgotten statues and walls humming with residual energy. Rick laid Eloa down carefully on a broken bench. "What is this place?" "Neutral ground," Lyanna said. "No one violates it. Not even Myros." "For now," Rick said, still watching the shadows. "Welcome to married life, Earthman," Lyanna muttered. Rick leaned against the wall, exhaustion settling in. Eloa, still pale, slid down beside him until their shoulders touched. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For earlier. For all of it. Don't thank me yet." "We're alive," she whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. "That's more than I expected when I woke up on that platform." Rick didn't move. Just sat there, letting the silence stretch. Then Spark rebooted. "Electromagnetic nightmare," it grumbled from his hand. "I haven't felt that level of disruption since, oh. Cuddling. Excellent. Shall I begin honeymoon planning?" "We're already married," Rick muttered. "This is the honeymoon." "Worst honeymoon ever," Eloa murmured. "No drinks, no beach, people keep trying to kill us." "I dunno. The company's not bad." She tilted her head to look at him, those impossible silver-violet eyes searching, reading too much. "Careful, Earthman," she said. "Keep saying things like that and I might believe you actually care." Perish the thought. From across the room, Lyanna called, "Get a room." "Oh wait. You already have the legal right to any room." Vera, organizing supplies, turned red-violet. "Lyanna. It's true. Marriage binding includes property claims." "I prefer places where people aren't trying to murder me," Rick muttered. "Then you married into the wrong family," Kayla's voice said dryly. Everyone jumped. She stood in the doorway, blood on her blade and a feral grin on her face. "All 6 down. We've got maybe an hour." "You're hurt," Vera said, rushing to her sister. Light pulsed beneath her fingers as she healed the shallow cuts. "Just scratches," Kayla said. But her eyes softened at Vera's touch. Save your strength. We'll need it. For what? Rick asked. For when Myros realizes we're not running anymore, Eloa said, forcing herself upright. Rick moved to help her. She accepted it this time without complaint. We've been prey for years, she continued, voice gaining strength. But now we have something new. A suicidal Earthman, Lyanna said. An edge, Eloa corrected. She looked at Rick. Someone who doesn't know he's supposed to be afraid. Oh, I'm afraid, Rick admitted, helping her steady. I'm just too stubborn to let it matter. You're also obviously in love, Spark chimed in. All part of my charm, Rick said. Earthmen have charm? Lyanna asked. We have our moments. The building trembled. Not from footsteps. Not from artillery. Something else. Something wrong. What was that? Vera asked, her voice tight. Lyanna ran to the window. Her face went pale. Oh no. Rick joined her, Eloa leaning on his side. In the distance, the air rippled. Buildings bent in ways no physics should allow. Space itself seemed to warp, twisting like a broken hologram. Is that a devourer? Rick asked. Eloa's voice was hollow. It's beginning, just like Mother feared. They're dormant. Lyanna said. The bloodline hasn't manifested in generations. Vera does, Kayla said quietly. Her light, it's not just starlight. It's the old power. All eyes turned to the youngest sister. Vera stood still, her glow pulsing faintly under her skin. I didn't mean to, she whispered. I was scared, and it just came. It's not your fault, Eloa said. She stood fully now, despite her wounds. It's in our blood. Our mother tried to hide it. Suppress it. But fear wakes it up. So what do we do? Rick asked. We run, Lyanna said. No, Eloa's voice was steel. We've run enough. If it's waking because of us, then we stop it. Stop a devourer. Kayla said with a bitter laugh. They're planet killers. Even the Empire barely contained them. They didn't have him. Eloa looked at Rick. Or that. Her gaze dropped to the ring. Spark pulsed uneasily. I remember. Not her. Her grandmother. My first bearer. She bound the devourers once. But the cost. What cost? Lyanna asked. Spark's voice went quiet. Everything. I failed to save her. Rick stared at the ring. But maybe, this time, with the right bearer, and the bloodline reunited. That's not a plan, Rick said. That's a wish. It's all we've got, Eloa replied. She looked into his eyes. So, husband. You jumped into an arena for a stranger. Will you help us save a world? Rick looked at her, bruised, bloodied, blazing with fire. At her sisters, each a piece of a puzzle he never expected to be part of. And he sighed. I've made worse decisions. Usually while drunk. But still. So, is that a yes? Vera asked, hopeful. Rick grinned. That's a why the hell not. He flexed his hand. Spark pulsed like a heartbeat. No more running. No more hiding. We hit back. With what army? Lyanna asked. Don't need an army. Rick looked toward the rippling skyline. Just need the right pressure points. You want to blackmail a dictator while the sky melts, Kayla said, almost impressed. I want to make him help us. He'll never, Lyanna started. He will, Eloa said. Because if he doesn't, we all die. And even tyrants prefer living to ruling over ash. Rick looked down at her and offered a crooked smile. Also. I really want to punch him in the face. Romantic and practical, Spark muttered. No wonder she's into you. Shut up, Rick and Aloha said in unison. Vera giggled. Even Kayla smiled. So, Lioness said, tactical wheels spinning. How do we get close to the most protected man on the planet? Rick raised his ring. We don't. We make him come to us. The ritual circle crackled with unstable energy. Vera's hands hovered above the crystalline formation, light flickering like a miniature sun barely held in check. Rick stood at the outer edge, eyes scanning the distorted skyline. The air shimmered with tension, people fled in every direction, but the ripple in reality kept growing. Steady, little star, Aloha murmured beside her sister. She knelt, palm to Vera's shoulder, lending strength and calm. Control it. Fear feeds it. Focus starves it. Easy for you to say, Vera choked. You didn't wake it. We all woke it, Lioness snapped, her fingers a blur as she adjusted glowing glyphs around the circle. This bloodline. This moment. Everything led here. Now shut up and concentrate. Movement, Kayla called from a cracked archway. 3 blocks out. Troops. Lots of them. Myrax? Rick asked, eyes narrowing. No. His army. Which means he's not far behind. Rick checked his gear, 2 plasma rifles scavenged from enforcers, a trio of blades strapped to his leg, and Spark buzzing with raw tension around his finger. How long do you need? 20 minutes, Lioness answered. 30 if nothing explodes. So, of course, the ceiling exploded. Lord Varric Myrax descended like a falling star, crystalline armor flaring with the stolen glow of power sources meant for gods. Around him, elite troops dropped on gravity lines, forming a perimeter in seconds. Did you think I'd let you complete a binding ritual? Myrax's amplified voice echoed across the chamber. His silver eyes locked on Vera. The child who woke the devourer, now trying to put it back to sleep. That's not how this works. Rick stepped in front of Vera, rifle raised. Back off, Chrome Dome. We're trying to save your city. Myrax extended a hand, and Rick's weapons turned to dust. My city is already lost, the dictator said. The moment she ignited that light, it was over. Now we simply choose the manner of our extinction. False choice, Lioness muttered. Always is. Myrax's face twisted. Spoken like your mother. She thought she was clever too, right until I. Kayla's blade nearly kissed his throat. Myrax jerked backward, crackling power deflecting the strike. He retaliated, sending her flying across the chamber. Anger makes this easier, he said with a grim smile. Stop. Vera screamed. Light erupted from her body, spiraling like a nova. The glyphs around the circle blinked, then failed. The devourer surged in response, focusing its attention fully on the city. Yes, Myrax whispered. Let it come. Show them what your bloodline truly means. Nope, Rick muttered. He charged Myrax, spark flaring into full armor. The two collided, crashing through a lower floor. Their fight shook the foundation. Myrax fought like a man with centuries of stolen power. Rick fought like a man with nothing left to lose. I've spent lifetimes containing that thing. Myrax snarled as their fists cracked stone. And in one day you've undone it all. Good, Rick growled, head-butting him. Your system sucked anyway. Above, Vera screamed. The sound bent physics. Rick saw the ritual collapse. The devourer's attention narrowed. The sky tore. Reality ceased around them. The building evaporated, leaving only a platform suspended in warped space. Rick held onto a splintered support beam, grabbing Vera mid-fall. She clung to him, crying. I can't stop it. The light, it won't stop. Then don't. Rick made a snap decision. Spark, can you channel her power through me? That would likely kill you. Not asking for odds. Just do it. Spark hesitated. Theoretically, but her energy signature is incompatible. Make it compatible. Rick looked up at Eloa, now helping Lyanna and Kayla to safety using glowing tendrils of hard light. You said Spark used to bond to more than one bearer, right? Do it again. The ring paused. That has not been done since her grandmother and her consort. They died sealing the devourer. Rick glanced at the sky, now a bleeding wound. Then let's try not to repeat that part. He lowered Vera gently. You've done enough, little star. Let us carry it from here. Eloa descended beside him, shining with impossible silver fire. Spark, she said, raising her hand. Make the bond. With both of us, the ring asked. At the same time. That's hardly standard. Neither is any of this, Rick said. So get creative. The ring pulsed. Very well. If this kills you both, I reserve the right to complain for eternity. Spark split. Rick felt it. His mind linked with Eloa's, her strength, her fear, her stubborn hope, and she with his guilt, his need to matter, his reckless love for the impossible. Wow, she whispered. This is intimate. No time to blush, Rick muttered, as Vera's energy surged into them both. Together, they stepped to the edge of the floating platform. Myrax, Rick called. The dictator was crouched, bloodied but watching. You still breathing? Barely. Then help us. Or everyone dies. Myrax laughed bitterly. You can't fight it. We're not fighting, Eloa said. We're changing it. Rick raised their joined hands, now glowing with Spark's twin essence. The devourer focused. It did not descend. It simply was, a force, an entropy, an inevitability. And it spoke, bypassing mouths and ears, slamming into their minds. You offer yourselves as sacrifice. No, Eloa said. We offer ourselves as opposition. You are finite. I am eternal. Wrong, Vera's voice chimed through the bond. You're old. We're new. You're alone. We're together. And you're boring. That was Kayla. Predictable, Lyanna added clinically. But life adapts. Life fights. Life loves. That was Eloa. And Rick? Rick smiled. Maybe everything ends, but not today. He let go of her hand and jumped into the devourer. Rick. Eloa's scream followed him into nothingness. Inside was worse than death. It was absence. It was a slow, crushing, nothing that pressed inward with every breath. Rick felt himself unravel. Then he whispered. Spark. Now. The ring exploded, not with fire, but chaos. Memories. Jokes. Stolen kisses. Hope. The devourer convulsed. What have you done? Gave you indigestion, Rick spat. Eloa crashed in after him, blazing light. You idiot. You didn't wait for me. You'd do the same. Not the point. She grabbed him, pulled him close, and kissed him. Inside cosmic entropy, two idiots kissed like the world depended on it. Maybe it did. The devourer faltered. Still vast. Still eternal. But now, uncertain. Now, Eloa said. Together, they struck, not to destroy, but to offer. You don't have to be hunger, she told it. You can be a guardian. Protect instead of consume, Rick added. That's your choice. The devourer paused. Outside, Myrax watched it shimmer. Lyanna screamed over the energy backlash. We need an anchor. Myrax stepped forward. Tell my daughters I remembered, he whispered, placing both hands on Vera's shoulders. His power surged into the ritual. He burned. He vanished, giving everything. Inside, Rick and Aloha felt the devourer bind. Its hunger was channeled. It didn't vanish, but it became something new. A protector. A devourer, on their side. Reality snapped back. Rick and Aloha tumbled onto stone, glowing but alive. Above them, the sky healed. The city cheered. Myrax lay still, his robes dimmed, energy spent. Aloha knelt beside him. You saved us. Saved myself, he whispered. Tell your mother I remembered. And then he was gone, light drifting upward like stardust. Who's in charge now? Kayla asked. Not me, Rick said instantly. I don't do politics. The eldest has the claim, Lyanna said. Unless the husband wants to. Nope. Aloha stood with Rick's help. Citizens poured in. Hope filled their eyes. We rule together, she said. 4 sisters. And 1 very reckless Earthman. You're stuck with us, Vera added cheerfully. Worst deal in the galaxy, Kayla muttered. Statistically suicidal, Lyanna noted. Rick smiled at them all. But the company's worth it. Spark hummed. I'm now married to myself. Join the club, Rick muttered. They looked to the horizon. It was just 1 devourer, Aloha said. There are more. Of course there are, Rick groaned. Scared? Terrified. When do we start? Tomorrow. Tonight, we rest. She took his hand. And tomorrow? I teach you to fly. Wings of light erupted from her back. Spark sighed. This is highly irregular. Just hang on, Rick said. And follow her lead. They jumped. Together. Soaring over a city learning to hope again, chased by a future they hadn't asked for, ready to face it anyway. 3 months later, on a world where the stars burned blue and the dead clawed up from crystal sands, a figure watched from the shadows. The air twisted again, wrong, cracked at the edges. Another devourer. Another tear. The figure stepped forward, eyes glowing with ancient knowing, skin violet and etched with silver scars that shimmered like lightning locked in flesh. So, she murmured. The bloodline survives. And they've tamed one of the hungry ones. She smiled. It wasn't kind. Time to see if they're ready for the rest. She pulled a hood over her head and stepped into the breach. Far above, in the spaces between, the devourer drifted, newborn again. Still hungry, still vast, but different. It had tasted something in the light of a stubborn human and the bloodline he'd married into. It had tasted hope. And found it indigestible. Now it watched. Waiting. Guarding. Not for consumption. For defense. Back on Terrasaurus, the rebuilt city of Argon glittered like a fresh dream. New towers rose, old wounds stitched shut with shared sacrifice. And on a balcony high above, Rick Marlowe leaned against a railing, one hand intertwined with Aloha's. You really would have burned the planet for me, she teased, echoing their first day. Planet? Pfft. Rick smirked. Princess, I'd burn the galaxy. She grinned. You're ridiculous. Statistically proven. They kissed, lightly this time. No cosmic horror, no armies, just 2 people sharing a second of peace before the chaos returned. Because it always would. But for now. Where to next? Rick asked. Wherever needs saving, Aloha said. Think the galaxy's ready for us? Not even close. They laughed. And somewhere between the stars, Spark sighed dramatically. I suppose this means we're doing this full time. That's right. And if you're ready for more wild cosmic romance, planet-saving chaos, and banter-fueled adventure, like, subscribe, and hit that bell for the next insane chapter of Rick and the Royal Sisters. You won't want to miss what's coming.